we were going to do a live on Instagram, but it messed up because Instagram sucks. No, it doesn't, but Yeah. So basically, we really loved how it went out yesterday on our lives. So we're going to be reading some more creepy stories for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy. Yeah, that's basically what's just gonna happen. So you guys can just lurk around because we're not gonna be doing anything on the actual stream. We're basically just gonna be doing reading some creepy stories. So our first one I'll be reading, and it's called "Never Walk Alone Along the Cornfields." So let's start. The last weekend in my summer vacation, I spent time on the countryside with Tony. I told my parents I'd leave the house on Sunday morning, but we had so much fun I stayed until the evening. As I was about to leave, his mom offered to drive me to the station. I refused, of course, since I didn't want to abuse her hospitality, but most importantly, the sun was setting and I loved a walk along the cornfields. What a beauty behold, the last sunrise bathing those fields in green and gold magnificent orange hue. No people, no cars, houses scarce, and far between. A lovely countryside stroll, until that shadow appeared from the corner of my eye. It was a lone walker in the distance. Even though I knew the locals and were very kind and welcoming, I couldn't stop at looking at the coated figure wearing a hat. What an odd thing to wear in the summer, I thought. Something about him made me feel uncomfortable. So, just to be safe, I took a sharp turn into a smaller trail going down the hill, a shortcut to the station. The moment I disappeared between the stalks, I broke into a trot and added more distance between us. 100 feet or so later, I glanced over my shoulder. Not one shadow. Not one shadow. I breathed a sigh of relief and continued, feeling a little silly. 1 minute later, the wind blew and a strange odor from behind. Something of a mix of between sweet cigarette and mildew. I turned my head while shading my eyes from the blinding sunset with my arm and squinted. A long shadow was creeping up on me from the top of the trail, cast by the dark hatted figure. Instead of heading straight to the main road, much farther ahead, I dashed into the cornfield and zigzagged between the stalks towards the station. I was certain I'd lose him from the way because I used to play hide and seek in them when I lived in the countryside. I knew exactly how to disappear within the maze, or so I thought. Those plants began to rustle from where I entered. I was chased, no doubt. Adrenaline was pumping through my body, and I began to run in a straight line. I risked a swift glance over my shoulder and saw a silhouette emerging from between the crops less than 100 feet from me. Somehow I managed to reduce the gap between us, just like that. I immediately shot it to my right, sprinted, then turned left again. The rustle was audibly close to me. My heart was throbbing. I couldn't feel my legs. It was as sure if my body was a magical bobbing up and down. The maze turned into an obscure at the last sunray, made my place from the moon and stars. I was exhausted, but I kept running. Left, right, then I stumbled upon something, but managed to regain my balance quickly. It was dark. I continued straight for a while. Right again, I was desperately trying to orient myself towards the station. But the rustle was close. I could hear him panting. Then, Hope had appeared from the street light piercing through the crops. The road! I hurtled out to the cornfield so quickly that a car had passed by. It hit me without a doubt. The station was right there. My legs were about to give out. Every part of my body pained me. My heart was pounding so hard inside my chest that I thought it could burst open. The only thing that could help me go into a faint rustle behind me. I didn't know whether he was still there or not, but I dared not to look. I swallowed hard between several wheezes and dragged my body down the road. Up to the stairs leading the platform of the station. I was exhausted, heaving, wheezing, hurting from all the extras. To make things worse, the station was completely deserted. My legs were quivering as I lumbered to the times table. 3 minutes left until arrival. I inevitably intended to follow the train, so I could sit on the bench and let to the end of the summer balcony numb my mind. But that idea was long gone. My mind was numb enough as it is. So were my legs. 2 minutes enough. The long, thin seconds hands of the large station clock seemed to move in slow motion. I was ready to dash anywhere. No one. I realized how thirsty I was. The tang of iron in my mouth made the matters worse. 1 minute left. Where's that stupid train? I leaned in over the tracks for a hint of its arrival. Any hint at all. Unfortunately, the curved tracks were made it possible to see far beyond. Time was up. No train in sight. I trudged to the timetable and double-checked that I read the time and weekday correctly. No mistake. It was definitely running late. A warm breeze made me shudder and calmly... Sorry. So, let's check the chat before I continue onto this. Sorry, we just got done reading a lot of stuff, so this is just kind of for our next video coming on next week. Hope you guys like that one. For anybody watching it, it's gonna be about school. So there's gonna be some creepy school stories. There's also just gonna be some normal school stories, but I hope you guys enjoy that one. Yeah, that one's gonna be fun, so you want me to Lena, get over this one, Twiggy? No, I got this. Okay, a warm breeze made me shudder, and calling my shirt didn't help. Suddenly, I heard a faint sound, followed by its echo. Clomp, 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 clomp. The pounding steps were drawing nearer. Clomp, clomp, and nearer. Clomp, clomp. Wow, that's very near. From the staircase on the other side of the tracks emerged a dark, wide-brimmed hat, followed by a gangly body wearing a navy trench coat. He'd found me. The man slowly tilted his head, exposing everything below the shadows of his hat. A grin formed on his thick, bearded face, slowly wintering, first exposing his uneven teeth, then widened some more. My hands flew to my mouth, but not before I let out a muffled cry. His beard gradually crawled out of everywhere, widening his mouth until it became one curved line stretching from one ear to the other, looking as if someone nearly cut his face in half. The man walked in my direction, spreading his arms like a predator ready to jump on its prey from over the tracks. As if by miracle the train had arrived, his smile vanished, and I saw him hurry back to downstairs. He was coming. While the train wheels screeched on the rails, slowly in a rhythmic clatter, I scanned each component and searched for holding the most passengers. I hopped on the busiest one as soon as the door opens, containing only 5 people inside. Come on, close the door. Please close them, I thought, nervously locking my eyes on the stairs. Flashing lights, warning beeps, the doors were about to close when the hat surfaced from the stairway, followed by the man's body. 3, 4 quick strides, and I barely hopped on board. I watched him lurk to the door and neighboring components with spidery legs. They were only separated by 2 doors. I felt sick. Our glaze met for me as an instant. He seemed in relish of my terror. There was something about his eyes that made everything around us melt away, creating a world where nothing but 2 of us existed. A world where only one of us could exist, and we both knew who would come on top. I snapped out of it, and he licked his lips and immediately averted my sight. His legs begged me to sit. My legs begged me to sit, but I dared not to fear. He dragged me into the world again. Sitting down would only have made me too vulnerable to escape his grasp. 6 stations to go. Each time we made a stop, an impulsive scream at me to run away. To where attempt another cornfield of humiliation by nothing but a crescent moon. At least here, surrounded by a small group of people, I felt somewhat safe. The soft rhythmic rocking of the trains didn't soothe me at all. I was tired, and there was no way I'd nod off, not with him nearby. I tried to recall what lead to this. Why didn't say, please bring me to the next station, to Tony's mom. The whole reason I wanted to be left alone is to wander in those fields was imprinted by the color painting esque of the last summer memory of the year. Instead of the dark blotching dripping on my canvas and more, I tried to wipe it off, and the grin spread only to nearby colors. This is a very long story, and we don't really have that much time, so we're just gonna read another one, and I hope you guys enjoy. That one didn't really spark me that much. They didn't really write it that well, so. My aunt has dementia, and it's taken a toll on my family. I think that one may be a little sad. Deathly Dreams. Let's do this one. How long is this? It's not that bad. We can do that one. Okay. Deathly Dreams. I yelled and I woke with a start. Sweat dripped down my face. My breathing was hard and desperate. I could have sworn that I'd been falling. The sickness of sleep meddled with cogs in my mind. Slowly, my eyes adjusted to the gloom of my bedroom. I found myself alone, safe and warm. No danger here. My heart rate slowed down and I chuckled nervously. Soon as the fear had swept from my mind and my memory of my dream had faded, I rolled out of bed and shivered. Quickly, I put on my sweater and put on my furry slippers. It was cold in the cabinet in the middle of the forest. Although internal plumbing and electricity and generators had been added, there still was no central heating. This did not bother me much because I always enjoyed having an excuse to light the fire in the living room. I absolutely love traditional fireplaces. I was whistling happily in the kitchen, sipping on a glass of cold water as I poured a fresh coffee beans into my electric grinder. The sound of the smell of the coffee being grounded always made me feel content. As my coffee brewed in my French press, I cracked 2 eggs into a boil and began to whisk. 15 minutes later, I carried a steaming hot cheese omelet and a large mug of coffee into the front veranda. I stood into the open door, surveying the beautiful outdoors in the early morning light. The air was cold and fresh, pregnant with complex mixtures of pine and lavender scent. I looked up to see the sky, and there was a deep blue and devoid of all the clouds. The thin, dark silhouette of a tree that surrounded the cabinet stood silent and ominous with the soft half-light of the morning. White coats of frost sparkled and melted in the grass as the sun climbed and brightened. I could hear the distant sounds of the stream and the calling morning birds. I sighed deeply with satisfaction. I sat down in my wooden chair. This is what I love more than anything. More than the city's bustling and bursting with busy human lives. More than squeezing myself into strangers in an underground train. More than sickening smells of the streets and the solemnous lack of nature sounds. In the city, there was no crickets, no owls, no frogs. Out here, there was an abundance of beauty. The trees were so patient and still, so very different from the rushed, ill manner, my usual morning. I definitely preferred the trees. I took another deep breath. I blew on the stream that rose from my coffee mug, and I sipped cautiously. The coffee was rich and delicious and scalding hot. Perfect. I began to eat my omelet, letting the serenity of nature continue to wash me over. My mood had not been so elevated, and my months was so serious thinking that I could move here full time. Currently, I was working as an English teacher, and I had decided to come out here to work on my novel and take a break from the city, from my life Once my excellent breakfast was completed, I walked inside and decided to start the fire to warm up the cabin. As I stooped to check the small wicker basket near the fireplace, I should contain the dried firewood. My eyebrows arched as I found an empty basket. Huh? I could have sworn that it was half full yesterday. Puzzled and but alar- not alarmed as I picked up the basket. Soon, I put my large, worn black coat on and made my way outside. The frosted ground crunched under the large leather boots as I waded through the forest, finding dry branches and from the fire fairly difficult at this time of day, for most of the ground was damp by now. However, my plans was to dry them out and put them over the oven as I used them. After spending a few moments stooping through the insects various dampness, I finally filled the basket. Okay, time to go home. I muttered eagerly, and I rubbed my hands together. The air was still cold enough to make my breath visible, and I rubbed my hands together. Suddenly, I stopped. My eyebrows frowned. I did not recognize where I was, but how? I was exploring the woods for days now, and not one time had I gotten lost. My eyes darted back and forth, and my head swiveled in confusion. Very soon, a creeping panic began to climb from my stomach to my lungs. My heart began to thump loudly. I looked at the sun. The voice of my old man ringed in my head. Learn to navigate the stars and the sun, and you'll never lose your way. I smiled, remembering his warm eyes and his loud laughter. I missed him. I closed my eyes, concentrating. Okay, this must be east, so that means I should walk. I stretched my arm out and my index finger pointed. I turned on my heel. North, that's the way. After a few moments, I found my path, blocked by a stunned sheer drop. I was facing an enormous quarry. My face blanched. What? Where the heck did this come from? Again, panic speeded into my blood. There aren't any bloody quarries around here. I moved towards the peak of the edge of the pier and peered down. The drop, at least 15 meters. I looked left and right, and I saw no stairs or bridges. How the heck was I supposed to get across? My confusion grew and grew. Suddenly I froze. There, lying at the bottom of the quarry, just near the cliff's bottom, and was a mangled body. The light in the sky was still too young to properly illuminate the quarry's depths, but I could tell it was the body. It was a body. My eyes bulged and my mouth opened wide and with astonishment. Jesus, hello, are you okay down there? I yelled, but nothing but just cold silence pressed my ears. Suddenly, I noticed the path I had not seen before. I started to my right and I wounded down the slope before me. Quickly, I started hurrying down towards the person. Maybe I could still help. Soon I was at the bottom and I ran to the body that laid still on the ground. As I got closer and the sun grew brighter, I stopped dead. The body that laid on the ground. As I got closer, yeah. The body that laid crumpled at my feet was me. No way. There was absolutely no way. I shouted. I trembled as I took a step back. My foot slipped on a large stone, and I felt myself begin to fall to the ground. Suddenly, I yelped and my legs kicked out. I blinked and sudden darkness found myself on the sofa in the living room. What the heck? Was that just a dream? I said out loud as I sat up. I felt the softness of the couch cushion beneath me. I could smell the citrus scents left over from the wash I had given them recently. I stood up and my breathing was still fast. The large windows showed a stormy afternoon. Rain pelted from the grass heavily and the wind howled loudly. What the heck? Was that just a dream? I repeated. I checked my watch. It was nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I racked my brain, trying to figure out what just happened. But the details of my dream were fading, and I was in a forest looking for firewood. Then I found the body in the quarry. It had been so real. I felt quite destroyed. I was truly awake now, or was I asleep? And that body, well, has been so terrible about it. The dream already swept away. I couldn't remember. Let's check the chat. Nope, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, still confused, I made my way up quickly towards the front door. Just as I opened it, there was a deafening peal of thunder and a bright fork of lightning lit up in the darkening sky. My mouth dropped there beyond the veranda, as it had always been a query. That cliff. I closed my mouth. But how? Ignoring the icy rain, I walked towards the edge of the peak. And I peeked over. In the cold, and another flash of lightning rumbled in thunder. I saw my own body twisted and broken on the ground below. I gasped. My mind relieved. My heart reeled. My heart fluttered. What is going on? I yelled, looking for some sort of explanation. When I looked back down again, and my face was turned white. My body was gone. Suddenly, I felt the eyes of a stranger on my back. As a feeling of dread crept up on my spine. A twig snapped. I spun around. I stood face to face with my shadow. But he did not look like me. Not exactly. Darkness coated his body like a skin-tight suit, and I could not tell what he was wearing. He may have been naked for all I know. I could see the face of his hair, but his eyes were cloaked innerly in a semicircle, a shadow which fell between each of his eyebrows, which utterly unconcerning about the storm. You poor thing, Wrenchling. What he spoke, his voice was not mine. It was deep, commanding, yet gentle. His words came out slow, almost lungy. I caught you as you fell. You have made a half choice. You can be at peace forever, but you must choose now. He stretched his hands and pointed towards the edge of the cliff. Suddenly, I noticed something new appeared in his hands. It was a book. It was my book. It was one I've been writing. Had I already finished it, or just started? Okay, 1 second. He turned to one of the middle pages and read, "Life is the peace. Life is peace. Death is suffering." He snapped the book closed and turned again to my face. How trite, yet so often the faithless truth are you. All you know is peace. Is it not? Are you thinking that life can never provide this? A cold smile curved his lips. Even living in the forest you so admire, crawling with suffering and conflict. Even the trees appear so peaceful, so still, so are wordlessly fighting each other for the light, racing against each other to calm into their own space. It is nature of the living to struggle. Conflicts fought with terror in my mind. I slumbered. I don't understand. What is this place? Who are you? Suddenly the man robbed in the darkness leapt and clasped my wrist. You know who I am. Small crimson light flared like a light from the depths of the sockets. He began to pull towards the edge. No, wait! I shouted, digging my heels into the wet grass. But he was too strong. He snarled, "Isn't this what you wanted?" And before I could stop myself, I was crying from desperation. Then, with a strength that could not be human, he lifted me above his head and threw me over to the side of the quarry. Lightning flashed and the air rushed through my hair. I screamed and I plummeted to my death. I yelled and I woke with a start. I heard the soft beeping of monitors. I felt the scratchy lines of a hospital bed beneath me. Pain slowly slipped and exploded through my limbs. My voice was croaky and dry as I spoke. Where the heck? What the heck? What happened? A nurse rushed over to my side. It's all right, love. You've had a bit of a tumble. Doctors got all sorted. Just rest now. Her voice was warm and comforting, like a cup of tea. My memory returned to me slowly. My family did not own any cabin in the forest. The day of the accident, I'd been jogging in the woods, and I took my usual route near the abandoned quarry. I remember exactly what happened. For a long time, I've been overwhelmed with my work and underwhelmed with my life. I wanted nothing more to do than just finish my novel and bail on my teaching responsibilities. My father, who recently died after a long, horrible fight with cancer, and time to fresh. It was the first time to realize that that age life stops providing and starts taking. I realized that soon, those things, all those people I could rely on, were not going to last forever. I was in An invisible fire was lit in my flesh, and I felt my time was rapidly running out. I jogged far, leaving the city limits, and I stood at the edge of the quarry, panting and sadness hanging over heavily. I had, for a moment, contemplating jumping. I had thought about it often before. As I started down, I imagined my broken body at the bottom of the cliff. Then, like in all my low memories, I let the cold and of my universe fill me up. Okay, that's pretty much it. That was something, alright. So, we're gonna end the stream here. Hope you guys have a great day. And goodbye. Hope you guys have a good day. Bye.
Bye.